In the bustling heart of downtown, a sleek glass skyscraper towered above the city, its reflective surface shimmering under the midday sun. This was the headquarters of Apex Innovations, a leading tech company known for its cutting-edge products and a cutthroat corporate culture. Inside, the atmosphere was electric with ambition, where every employee was driven by the desire to climb the corporate ladder. At the top of this corporate hierarchy was Marcus Reynolds, the CEO of Apex Innovations. Marcus was a man of striking presence, tall, impeccably dressed in tailored suits, and always exuding an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. With a reputation for being ruthless in business and dismissive of those he deemed beneath him, Marcus had little patience for anything that didn't align with his vision. He prided himself on his ability to make quick decisions, often at the expense of empathy. Despite his success, there was an underlying current of dissatisfaction among employees. Rumors circulated about his abrasive management style, and many felt undervalued in their roles. Yet in a world where ambition overshadowed compassion, few dared to speak out against him. On the other end of the corporate spectrum was Lisa Carter, a dedicated cleaner who worked tirelessly to maintain the pristine environment of Apex Innovations. Lisa was a woman in her late 30s, with a warm smile and an unyielding spirit. She had spent years working various cleaning jobs to support her family, and had recently landed this position at Apex. For Lisa, it represented not just employment, but a step toward stability for her 2 children. Every morning before dawn broke, Lisa would rise early to prepare breakfast for her kids before heading out to work. She took pride in her job, believing that every role mattered in keeping the company running smoothly. Despite her position, Lisa held her head high. She understood that dignity came from within and that everyone deserved respect, regardless of their job title. As fate would have it, their paths were destined to cross one fateful morning, when both found themselves in the same elevator, on the way to their respective floors. It was a typical Monday morning when Lisa arrived at Apex Innovations. The building buzzed with energy as employees rushed past her on their way to meetings and conferences. Dressed in her standard work uniform, a simple blue jumpsuit, Lisa maneuvered through the lobby with purpose. She greeted everyone she encountered with a smile, hoping to brighten their day, even if just for a moment. Meanwhile, Marcus arrived at work just as the clock struck 9. He strode through the lobby with an air of authority that turned heads. People instinctively moved aside as he approached. As he stepped into the elevator, he barely acknowledged Lisa standing there with her cleaning cart. The doors slid shut behind them with a soft chime as they began their ascent. Lisa pressed the button for the ground floor, while Marcus pressed his own for the top executive suite. The elevator hummed softly as it began its climb. For a brief moment, they stood in silence, Marcus lost in thought about an upcoming presentation that could make or break his company's quarter, while Lisa focused on ensuring she wouldn't miss any spots during her cleaning rounds later that day. Suddenly, Marcus glanced over at Lisa and frowned slightly at her presence. "Do you really have to be here right now?" he asked dismissively, his tone dripping with condescension. Lisa looked up in surprise but maintained her composure. "I'm just doing my job," she replied politely but firmly. Marcus scoffed lightly before continuing. "Well, it's hard to believe you're actually cleaning anything when you're standing around like this." The words stung more than Lisa expected. She felt her heart race as she fought against an instinctive urge to defend herself. "I assure you I'm very thorough," she said calmly, refusing to let his rudeness get under her skin. "Thorough?" "Right," Marcus replied sarcastically. "I guess I'll have to take your word for it since I can't see any results right now." Lisa's eyes narrowed slightly as she processed his words. She couldn't believe how rude he was being without any regard for her efforts or dignity as a person. "I take pride in my work," she said firmly now, meeting his gaze directly. "Pride?" Marcus repeated incredulously. "You're just a cleaner. What do you know about pride? The elevator continued its ascent as tension filled the small space between them. Lisa felt anger bubbling beneath her calm exterior, but reminded herself that responding aggressively wouldn't help anyone. Actually, she began slowly, I know quite a bit about hard work and dedication. Marcus rolled his eyes dismissively, but didn't respond further. Instead, he turned away from her gaze and stared at the elevator panel as if willing it to reach his floor faster. Just then, the elevator dinged softly as they reached Marcus's designated floor. The doors slid open smoothly, revealing a bustling office filled with executives preparing for meetings. He stepped out without another word or glance back at Lisa, who remained inside momentarily stunned by what had just transpired. As soon as he exited, Lisa took a deep breath, trying to shake off the encounter. She couldn't believe how rude he had been. But rather than dwell on it, she reminded herself that people like him often acted out of insecurity or ignorance rather than genuine malice. With renewed determination, she pushed aside any lingering frustration and focused on completing her tasks for the day. After all, she had children waiting at home who depended on her. Little did either of them know that this brief encounter would set off a chain reaction, leading them both toward unexpected revelations about respect, humility, and ultimately, the true meaning behind leadership. The insult incident. The following day at Apex Innovations dawned bright and clear, but for Lisa Carter, the memory of her brief encounter with Marcus Reynolds lingered like a shadow. She arrived at work early as usual, determined to put her best foot forward, despite the rudeness she had encountered. The building buzzed with energy as employees rushed past her, engrossed in their own worlds. Lisa greeted her coworkers with a smile, hoping to shake off any lingering negativity from the previous day. As she pushed her cleaning cart through the gleaming hallways, she couldn't help but overhear snippets of conversations around her. Employees discussed quarterly reports, product launches, and upcoming meetings, topics that felt worlds away from her own reality. But Lisa had learned to find pride in her work. She understood that every role was essential to the company's success. Meanwhile, Marcus was already in his office, preparing for a crucial meeting that could determine the direction of Apex Innovations for the next quarter. He was reviewing reports and making last-minute adjustments to his presentation slides. Despite his outward confidence, there was an undercurrent of stress. He knew that stakeholders were watching closely, eager to see results. As Marcus stepped out of his office to head to the conference room, he spotted Lisa once again in the hallway. She was diligently cleaning the glass panels that separated his office from the main floor. For a moment he hesitated. Memories of their previous encounter flooded back. He had been rude and dismissive, but today he felt a strange sense of superiority as he approached her. "Still here, I see," Marcus said with a smirk as he walked past her. Lisa looked up from her work, surprised by his tone. "Yes, I'm just doing my job," she replied evenly. Marcus chuckled derisively. "You know, if you spent less time cleaning and more time being productive, maybe this place wouldn't need so much upkeep." Lisa felt a surge of indignation rise within her. "Every job is important," she said firmly. "Without people like me keeping this place clean and organized, you wouldn't be able to focus on your work." "Is that so?" Marcus replied sarcastically. "I doubt anyone would notice if you took a day off." The words stung deeply. Lisa fought to keep her composure as she felt anger bubbling beneath the surface. "You'd be surprised how much people notice when things aren't taken care of," she shot back. Marcus raised an eyebrow at her defiance, but decided to dismiss it. He turned away with a wave of his hand as if shooing away an annoying fly. "Whatever you say," he retorted before striding off toward the conference room. Lisa watched him go, feeling a mix of frustration and disbelief. How could someone in such a powerful position be so ignorant about the contributions of others? She shook her head and returned to her cleaning tasks, determined not to let his words affect her spirit. As the day progressed, Lisa threw herself into her work with renewed determination. She meticulously cleaned every corner of the office, dusting surfaces, vacuuming carpets, and ensuring that everything sparkled. She believed that creating a clean environment was part of fostering productivity and morale among employees. Meanwhile, Marcus sat in his meeting with other executives discussing strategies for growth and innovation. As they reviewed quarterly performance metrics and projected outcomes for upcoming products, he couldn't shake off thoughts about Lisa's boldness during their earlier exchange. "Is everything all right?" asked Sarah, one of his senior managers who noticed him lost in thought. "Yeah," Marcus replied distractedly, before shaking his head slightly as if shaking off lingering doubts about himself. "Just thinking about some employee engagement initiatives we should consider." "Engagement?" Sarah echoed with surprise. "Isn't that more your thing? You've always been focused on results over relationships." Marcus frowned at her words. Perhaps there was some truth to what she said. It had always been easier for him to prioritize numbers rather than emotions. But now he found himself questioning whether this approach was sustainable long-term. After the meeting concluded, Marcus returned to his office feeling slightly unsettled by everything discussed earlier. Maybe it was time for him to reassess how he viewed those working beneath him, not just as cogs in a machine, but as individuals contributing toward shared goals. Later that afternoon, Lisa found herself in another elevator ride back down after finishing up cleaning duties on one of the upper floors. She pressed the button for ground level while reflecting on how difficult it had been dealing with Marcus's arrogance earlier today. As she stood there alone waiting for doors to open, she couldn't help but think about how often people like him seemed oblivious to others' efforts around them. But just then, the elevator doors slid open, revealing none other than Marcus stepping inside, looking harried, yet determined. "Back again?" he remarked casually without even acknowledging her presence directly this time around. "Yes," Lisa replied curtly as she stepped aside, allowing him space within confined quarters before pressing down on button again, feeling tension rising between them once more. For several moments they stood side by side in silence, the air thick with unspoken words hanging heavily between them, until finally, Marcus broke it by glancing over at Lisa once more. "You know, I've been thinking about what you said earlier." Lisa turned toward him surprised. Was he actually willing to engage now? "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously, unsure where this conversation might lead them both. "I guess I underestimated how important your role is here," Marcus admitted reluctantly, shifting slightly under pressure from realization dawning upon him unexpectedly. "I appreciate that," Lisa replied cautiously, still unsure whether this newfound openness would last, or if it was simply another fleeting moment before reverting back into old habits. Just then, the elevator jolted, suddenly coming to an abrupt halt, causing both occupants inside to stumble slightly forward. "What's going on?" Marcus exclaimed, glancing up at panel above them, anxiously watching lights flicker uncertainly. "I don't know," Lisa responded, feeling adrenaline surge through veins instantly. They exchanged worried glances, realizing they were trapped together now without any immediate way out, forcing them both into uncomfortable proximity amidst rising tensions once again. "Great," Marcus muttered under breath while pacing back and forth nervously within confined space, trying desperately not to panic. Lisa took a deep breath, attempting to calm herself down, while also assessing situation around them, carefully looking for potential escape routes available nearby, if needed. Minutes passed slowly while they remained stuck inside elevator, waiting anxiously for help arriving. Soon enough, finally, after what felt like an eternity, the elevator jolted back into motion, resuming its descent downward again, causing both occupants inside exhale relief collectively, once doors opened wide, revealing lobby below. Finally, as they stepped out into familiar surroundings once more, Lisa glanced over at Marcus, who seemed visibly shaken by experience they'd just endured together. "Guess we survived," he said, attempting humor, despite lingering tension still hanging thickly between them both. "Yes," Lisa replied softly, smiling faintly, feeling sense camaraderie forming unexpectedly amidst shared ordeal experienced together. "Maybe we should talk more often," Marcus suggested hesitantly, unsure whether this newfound connection would last beyond today's events unfolding around them both. "Maybe we should," Lisa agreed cautiously, sensing potential change brewing beneath surface now, a flicker of hope igniting within heart, unexpectedly igniting possibility ahead. Little did either realize that this chance encounter would lead them both toward greater understanding, humility, respect, ultimately redefining their perceptions about one another forevermore. The twist revealed. The following days at Apex Innovations unfolded with a palpable tension in the air. Lisa and Marcus continued to cross paths, often in the elevator or the hallways. Each encounter was charged with an unspoken understanding, a recognition that their previous interactions had been anything but ordinary. While Marcus had begun to reflect on his behavior, Lisa remained cautious, unsure if his newfound openness was genuine or simply a fleeting response to their shared experience of being trapped in the elevator. As the week progressed, Lisa received an email that would change everything. It was an announcement from the corporate office regarding a significant restructuring of leadership positions. Lisa had been promoted to Director of Operations, a role she had long aspired to, but never imagined she would achieve at Apex Innovations. When she read the email, her heart raced with excitement. This was a dream come true. All her hard work and dedication had finally paid off. But as she processed the implications of her new position, a wave of apprehension washed over her. How would Marcus react when he learned that she was now his boss? Would he accept her leadership after their rocky start? Meanwhile, Marcus was preparing for a crucial meeting with the board of directors. He had been informed about some changes within the company, but hadn't received any specifics regarding personnel shifts. As he reviewed his presentation slides, he felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. This meeting could solidify his position as CEO or jeopardize everything he had worked for. Just as he was about to leave for the meeting, his assistant knocked on the door and entered with a folder in hand. "Marcus, you need to see this," she said, handing him the document. "What is it?" he asked, flipping through the pages quickly. "It's about the new Director of Operations," she replied, her tone serious. Marcus's brow furrowed as he scanned the document. His heart sank as he read Lisa's name at the top of the page. "Lisa Carter?" he exclaimed incredulously. "The cleaner?" "Yes," his assistant confirmed. "She's been promoted due to her exceptional performance and dedication." Marcus felt a rush of emotions, confusion, disbelief, and embarrassment all rolled into one. How could someone he had so casually dismissed as just a cleaner now be in a position of authority over him? He thought back to their encounters, the insults exchanged and his arrogance, and felt a wave of shame wash over him. "Are you sure this is correct?" Marcus asked, trying to mask his disbelief. "Absolutely," she replied firmly. "The decision came from upper management after reviewing her contributions and potential for leadership." With a heavy heart, Marcus made his way to the conference room where the board meeting was set to take place. As he walked through the sleek hallways adorned with motivational quotes and images of successful projects, he couldn't shake off the feeling that everything had shifted beneath him. When he entered the conference room, he found himself seated across from several board members who were discussing various strategies for growth and innovation. The atmosphere was tense as they prepared for Lisa's introduction. "Before we begin," one of the board members said, "I'd like to introduce our new Director of Operations, Lisa Carter." The door swung open, and Lisa stepped into the room with an air of confidence that surprised even herself. She wore a tailored blazer that accentuated her professionalism while still retaining her warmth, an embodiment of her journey from cleaner to leader. As she walked toward the front of the room, Marcus felt his heart race again. Not from excitement, but from anxiety about how this would play out. Could he put aside his previous biases and accept her leadership? Would others follow suit? "Thank you all for welcoming me," Lisa began with a genuine smile, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I'm excited to take on this role and work alongside each of you to drive our company forward." Marcus watched as she spoke passionately about her vision for Apex Innovations. Her ideas were fresh and innovative, reflecting not only her understanding of operations, but also her commitment to fostering an inclusive workplace culture. As she continued outlining her plans for improvement, addressing employee engagement initiatives and operational efficiencies, Marcus found himself captivated by her presence. He realized that she possessed qualities he admired: intelligence, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. When it came time for questions from board members, Marcus raised his hand hesitantly, feeling torn between wanting to support her while also grappling with past prejudices lingering within. "Lisa," he began cautiously but earnestly, now wanting clarity on how they could collaborate effectively moving forward. "What do you see as our biggest challenge in terms of integrating operations with our current projects?" Lisa paused momentarily, considering his question carefully before responding thoughtfully. "I believe our biggest challenge lies in communication across departments. We need transparency if we're going to succeed together." The room erupted into murmurs of agreement. It was clear they respected her insights. For Marcus, this moment felt transformative. Perhaps there was more than met eye when it came down understanding people beyond mere titles attached. As discussions continued throughout meeting, Marcus found himself increasingly impressed by Lisa's approachability while also acknowledging how much he'd misjudged her previously. By the end, he realized that embracing change meant letting go old biases while recognizing value each individual brought forth regardless of their background. Afterward, as everyone filed out into hallway once again, Marcus caught up with Lisa, feeling compelled, apologized for past behavior. "Hey, can we talk for a moment?" Lisa turned toward him, surprised yet curious. "Sure." "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," Marcus admitted sincerely, looking directly into eyes now filled with newfound respect. "I didn't recognize your potential before, and I regret how I treated you. I hope we can work together moving forward," Marcus added earnestly, wanting to establish rapport built upon mutual respect instead. "Absolutely," Lisa replied confidently, feeling sense camaraderie forming between them both now. A flicker hope igniting within hearts, unexpectedly igniting possibility ahead. Little did either realize that this chance encounter would lead them both toward greater understanding, humility, respect, ultimately redefining their perceptions about one another forevermore. Consequences and reactions. In the days following Lisa's promotion to Director of Operations, the atmosphere at Apex Innovations shifted dramatically. Employees were buzzing with excitement and curiosity about their new leader. Many had heard rumors about Lisa's remarkable journey from cleaner to director, and her story quickly became a source of inspiration for those who felt overlooked in their own roles. Marcus, on the other hand, found himself grappling with a mix of emotions. He was proud to see Lisa thriving in her new position, yet he couldn't shake off the embarrassment he felt for how he had treated her previously. The realization that he had underestimated her potential weighed heavily on him. He knew he needed to change, not just for himself, but also for the sake of fostering a supportive work environment. As the week progressed, Lisa dove headfirst into her new responsibilities. She held meetings with various departments to assess their needs and challenges. Her approach was collaborative. She listened attentively to employees' concerns and encouraged them to share their ideas for improvement. This open-door policy quickly endeared her to many, and soon she was seen as a breath of fresh air in a company that had long been dominated by a top-down management style. During one of these meetings, Lisa introduced a new initiative aimed at enhancing employee engagement. "I believe that every voice matters," she stated passionately. "We need to create an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute." Marcus sat in the back of the room, observing her leadership style with admiration. He noticed how she made eye contact with everyone in the room, ensuring that each person felt included in the conversation. Her genuine interest in their well-being was evident, and it contrasted sharply with his own previous approach. After the meeting concluded, Marcus approached Lisa as employees filtered out of the room. "That was impressive," he said sincerely. "You really know how to connect with people." "Thanks, Marcus," Lisa replied, a hint of pride in her voice. "I think it's important to build relationships if we want to succeed together." He nodded thoughtfully, realizing how much he had to learn from her perspective. "I'd like to help you implement some of these ideas," he offered. "I know I haven't been the most supportive leader in the past, but I want to change that." Lisa smiled warmly at his offer. "I'd appreciate that. It's going to take all of us working together to make this happen." As they began collaborating on new initiatives, Marcus found himself increasingly inspired by Lisa's vision for Apex Innovations. She encouraged him to step out of his comfort zone and engage more with employees at all levels, a stark contrast to his previous habit of isolating himself within his office. However, not everyone was pleased with this shift in leadership dynamics. Some senior executives were skeptical about Lisa's promotion and questioned whether she had what it took to lead effectively. Whispers circulated around the office about her lack of traditional qualifications for such a high-ranking position. One afternoon during a break-room conversation, Marcus overheard two executives discussing Lisa dismissively. "Can you believe they put her in charge?" one said incredulously. "She was just cleaning floors last month." Marcus felt a surge of anger at their comments, but chose not to confront them directly at that moment. Instead, he resolved to support Lisa even more fiercely behind the scenes. As weeks turned into months, Lisa continued implementing changes throughout Apex Innovations. Her initiatives began yielding positive results. Employee satisfaction scores improved significantly as morale soared. People felt more engaged than ever before. But despite these successes, there were still challenges ahead. One day, while preparing for another roundtable discussion, Lisa received an email from upper management announcing an upcoming company-wide meeting where they would address performance metrics moving forward. Curiosity piqued. She gathered her notes, preparing diligently for what lay ahead. When the day finally arrived, Lisa entered the conference room, feeling both excited yet anxious about presenting updates regarding operational improvements made thus far. As she took her seat alongside Marcus, the tension hung thickly in air around them. The CEO stood up, addressing attendees directly. "Thank you all for joining us today. We have some important updates regarding our performance metrics." When it finally came time for her presentation, Lisa stood confidently before everyone, readying herself once again. "Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to share our progress over recent months." She outlined key initiatives implemented since taking office, highlighting improvements made within departments alongside increased employee engagement levels achieved through collaborative efforts established earlier. But just as she began discussing future goals, one executive interrupted. "But can we really trust someone who has only recently stepped into this role? What qualifications does she have?" The question hung heavily in air. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward Lisa, waiting expectantly for response. Taking a deep breath, Lisa felt adrenaline surge through veins once more. This was her moment. "I may not have traditional qualifications," she began firmly, meeting gaze directly now unflinching. "But I bring something equally valuable, experience from every level within this organization." She paused, allowing words sink in before continuing. "I understand what it means to work hard, to face challenges head-on, and I believe that my unique perspective allows me better connect with our employees than anyone else here." A murmur rippled through audience as people exchanged glances, surprised by confidence radiating from woman standing before them now. Marcus watched proudly, feeling admiration swell inside him. This was exactly why he believed in her potential. The meeting continued without further interruptions, as Lisa successfully presented updates while addressing questions thoughtfully, demonstrating knowledge gained throughout journey thus far. Afterward, when everyone filed out into hallway once again, Marcus caught up with Lisa, feeling compelled to compliment her. "You handled that beautifully." "Thanks," she replied, smiling brightly, feeling sense accomplishment wash over her unexpectedly. "I think you've really won them over," Marcus added genuinely, wanting to reassure her confidence moving forward. "I hope so," Lisa said cautiously, still aware there would always be skeptics lingering around, but determined not to let negativity overshadow progress made thus far. As they walked together toward their offices, their bond grew stronger each passing day. They began sharing ideas, brainstorming ways to improve workplace culture further, while also recognizing importance supporting one another through challenges faced along the way. Little did either realize that this journey would lead them both toward greater understanding, humility, respect, ultimately redefining perceptions about leadership forevermore. Reflection and lessons learned. As the months rolled on at Apex Innovations, the transformation within the company became increasingly evident. Under Lisa's leadership, employee engagement soared, productivity improved, and a culture of inclusivity began to take root. Marcus watched with pride as Lisa implemented initiatives that not only empowered employees, but also fostered a sense of belonging among everyone in the organization. One afternoon, as they wrapped up a successful quarterly meeting, Lisa and Marcus found themselves in her office discussing future plans. The room was filled with light from the large windows overlooking the city skyline, creating an atmosphere of optimism and possibility. "I can't believe how far we've come in such a short time," Lisa said, leaning back in her chair with a satisfied smile. "The feedback from employees has been overwhelmingly positive." Marcus nodded, his expression serious. "You've done an incredible job, Lisa. I've learned so much from you about what it means to lead with empathy and understanding." Lisa looked at him thoughtfully. "I appreciate that, Marcus. But it's important to remember that leadership is about collaboration. I couldn't have done this without your support." Their conversation shifted to upcoming projects and initiatives aimed at further enhancing workplace culture. They brainstormed ideas for team-building activities and ways to celebrate employee achievements, recognizing that fostering a positive environment required continuous effort. As they worked together more closely, Marcus found himself reflecting on his own growth. He realized how much his perceptions had changed since Lisa's promotion. No longer did he see her as just a cleaner. Instead, he recognized her as a leader who brought invaluable insights and experiences to the table. However, not everyone was fully on board with the changes taking place at Apex Innovations. Some senior executives remained skeptical of Lisa's leadership style, preferring the traditional top-down approach that had dominated the company for years. Whispers of dissent echoed through the hallways, and there were murmurs about whether Lisa would be able to sustain her success. One day during a lunch break, Marcus overheard two executives discussing their concerns in hushed tones. "I just don't think she has what it takes," one said dismissively. "She might have had a good start, but eventually people will see through her lack of experience." Marcus felt anger rise within him. He couldn't believe how quickly some were willing to undermine Lisa's accomplishments based solely on preconceived notions about her background. That afternoon, he decided it was time to address these concerns head-on. He called for a meeting with the executive team to discuss their views openly. As they gathered in the conference room, Marcus stood at the head of the table looking around at his colleagues. "I want to talk about our new direction under Lisa's leadership." "Do we really have to?" one executive interjected sarcastically. Yes, Marcus replied firmly, because I believe it's crucial we support her vision moving forward. He shared examples of how employee morale had improved since Lisa took charge, highlighting increased productivity metrics and positive feedback from staff members who felt more engaged than ever before. I urge you all to reconsider your perspectives, he continued passionately. Lisa brings unique insights that we need if we want this company to thrive. The room fell silent as his words hung heavy in air. It was clear some were taken aback by his defense of Lisa. Finally, one executive spoke up hesitantly. But what if she fails? What then? Marcus met their gaze directly. Failure is part of growth. It's how we learn. If we don't take risks or embrace change, we'll stagnate. The discussion continued, with varying opinions being voiced. But by the end, Marcus felt hopeful that he had planted seeds of change among his colleagues. As weeks turned into months, Lisa continued leading Apex Innovations through transformative initiatives, while also fostering an environment where everyone felt heard, valued, respected. One day, while preparing for another quarterly review meeting, Lisa received an email inviting her to speak at an upcoming industry conference about her experiences leading change within organizations. Excitement bubbled within her as she realized this was an incredible opportunity, not only for herself, but also for showcasing what could happen when diverse voices were given platforms. When she shared news with Marcus later that day, he beamed with pride. "This is amazing. You absolutely deserve this recognition." "Thank you," Lisa replied, feeling grateful for his unwavering support throughout this journey. As she prepared for her presentation, Lisa reflected on everything she'd experienced since joining Apex Innovations, from being underestimated to now being recognized as a leader. On the day of the conference, Lisa stood before an audience filled with industry professionals eager to hear her insights. "Thank you all for being here," she began confidently. "Today I want to share my journey, from cleaner to director of operations, and how embracing diversity has transformed our workplace culture." As she spoke passionately about her experiences, the audience listened intently, captivated by her story. "I believe every individual brings unique perspectives that can drive innovation," she continued passionately, sharing examples from Apex Innovations, illustrating how empowering employees led directly toward increased productivity overall. Afterward, she received numerous accolades from attendees praising her authenticity while expressing interest in implementing similar initiatives within their own organizations. Returning home later that evening, Lisa felt exhilarated, reflecting on everything accomplished thus far. She knew there would always be challenges ahead. But now she felt equipped, faced them head-on, knowing she had support behind her every step along the way. Meanwhile, Marcus continued reflecting upon lessons learned throughout this journey. He recognized importance, humility, respect, understanding when it came down leading others effectively. As they both navigated their paths forward together, they remained committed toward fostering inclusive environments where everyone could thrive regardless of background or title held within organization. Little did they know that their partnership would inspire countless others across industries seeking change, while also redefining what true leadership meant moving forward into future.